Hi, my name is Bente, I'm the Norris Witch, and I have been tagged by Ella Harrison to give you a 2024 recap of my practice, as well as to tell you what I am planning for my practice in 2025. I kind of already did a 2024 recap, as well as tell you a little bit about what I'm planning for 2025. But if you already watched that video, you will know that I bought a house and that I will probably be moving in April. So a lot of this year will be about moving, renovating, getting settled into the new house, getting settled into the new area and the property that we bought. So I thought, instead of making this tag about my general practice, I would go a little bit more deeper into basically my house buying to-do list. And I'm not talking about, okay, we want to renovate this room and do this wall color. I'm talking about spiritual stuff. So what am I planning to do spiritually? I know a lot of you were interested in that, and I didn't really go very deeply into that aspect of 2025. I basically just said, yeah, we bought a house, so a lot of this year will be about house stuff. But I didn't tell you anything about my concrete plans, on my real plans that I already made, and it is quite a lot. So I thought, okay, let's just make this tag a little bit more specific about my spiritual plans for my house. So let's go. I thought I would split this video into 3 parts. First of all, I will talk about what I'm planning for inside the house. Then I will be talking about the property in general, so the entire garden and everything around that, because the garden is quite large, so I will be able to do quite a lot in the garden and on the property in general around the house. But then also I want to talk about in general what I'm planning on doing when I'm moving. This is actually the first time that I am moving since I have gotten very bioregional in my practice. That has really only developed while I lived here. I lived here for 5.5 years, I think. So during these 5.5 years of my practice became very bioregional. And now moving to a different area of the country will be quite interesting, because I haven't moved in 6 years. I'm honestly a little bit sad leaving all of this here behind, all of the relationships that I made with spirits around here. But I'm also very excited about moving to a different area and then making friendships there, forming relationships with new spirits, and just getting to know a different area of the country. So that is what we will talk about at the end of the video. So we're going from inside the house, on our property, to the entire area that we're moving to. All right, so first of all, inside the house, the first thing that I want to figure out about the house is if the house already has a house spirit, because not every house has a house spirit, at least that's what I believe in. Not every house has a house spirit. This house though is 100 years old, and it does feel very open and very positive. You know this feeling when you go into a house and the house feels very closed off and very dark and gloomy, and it doesn't feel like that. It feels very open and nice and friendly. So it may already have a house spirit, but I don't know if the house spirit maybe moved out with the previous owner. So I want to at first figure out if there is a house spirit living in the house. If there is one living in the house, of course, I will introduce myself and my fiancé so that the house spirit knows who we are, that we are the new owners of the house, what we're planning to do in the house. I really want to update the house spirit on what will happen, because of course, when someone new moves in, there's a lot of changes going on in the house. We will renovate a lot. I just want to make sure that the house spirit knows what will be going on in the next couple of months. And I want to make sure that they know that we are intending positive things for the house and that we are intending on forming a relationship with the spirit. So with that, of course, I also want to give an initial offering, kind of as a peace offer and an offer of friendship, and simply to show them that we are good people, that we acknowledge that spirit. Of course, my goal for the entirety of living in that house is to have a good relationship with the house spirit. So we have to introduce ourselves, we have to give an initial offering, and yeah, in general, just offer them a relationship and see if they are open to forming a friendship with us. That would be quite nice. So of course I will be nice about it and tell them what we're planning to do, but also I will tell them what they can expect from us if they are friendly towards us. Because of course I don't want things to go wrong in the house. I want the renovations and everything to go smoothly, and also afterwards I want everything to go smoothly. So of course I am aiming for a good relationship with the house spirit. So I'm hoping for the best, but the general vibe that I got from the house was a very, very positive one. Otherwise I would not have bought it. So I just hope that either there isn't a house spirit yet, or that the one that's already living there is a nice one. I kind of feel like there is already one because it didn't feel empty, if you know what I mean. But we will see. The thing is, if there is no house spirit yet, then we would have the advantage of freely being able to do whatever we want without really having to tell the house spirit what we're doing, or having to hope that they are happy with it. Because if there's not a house spirit yet, there's nobody we can upset with the renovations that we're doing. And that's why if there's no house spirit yet, then I will wait with acquiring one. I really want one in the end, but I think if there is no house spirit yet, then it would be more convenient for us to just do all of the renovations, get everything done, get settled, and then go out and try to find a spirit who wants to become our house spirit, simply because then everything is already done. They can get settled into a house that's already renovated, that's nice and clean. There's no like building noise going on or anything like that. So it will be nicer for both sides. We will have more freedom if we acquire the house spirit later on, and they will be able to settle into a house that's already done. Depending on what I find about a house spirit already existing or not, we will either form a connection with them or try to find one later on. But if there is no house spirit yet, then it will probably take like half a year or something, and then afterwards I will try to find someone who wants to move in with us before winter comes around. Of course, there is not only just a house spirit in a house, but it's possible that there are other spirits around who are roaming the corridors. So of course I will want to figure out if there are any other spirits out and about, and if yes, I will simply like introduce myself again and lay down some ground rules, because I am a person that likes having spirits around. I think it's nice. Why kick everyone out? Doesn't really make sense to me. I kind of come from a viewpoint where they were there before me, so if I move into the house, I will not kick them out, as long as they behave. Because if they are misbehaving, if one of them is a poltergeist or something like that, then I will kick them out. If I move in and I realize there are other spirits living there, no matter what kind of spirit, I will simply like lay down ground rules and be like, okay, you know what? You can totally stay here. You are very welcome, as long as you respect these boundaries. And if you do not respect those boundaries, then I will have to kick you out, because I don't mind spirits around. Like, as long as they behave and as long as they are nice and friendly, I'm not bothered by them. They are very, very welcome to stay. I like spirits, but yeah, if they misbehave, then they have to go. With that being said, in that process, one of the things that I want to do very early on is a big house cleansing. That is very important to me, a big house cleansing with probably a lot of incense, a lot of sounds, a lot of chanting, just in general a big house cleansing to get rid of all of the stagnant energies that have been sitting there, because that house has been empty for probably like 3 or 4 months. So there's just a lot of stagnant energy still around there. The house is still full of stuff from the previous owners. We agreed that we're getting the house cheaper, but we have to get rid of all of their stuff, like a lot of furniture and things like that. So with that, of course, there's still a lot of stagnant energy from the previous owners, and like one of them died. So we really have to figure out how to properly cleanse the house, not only clean out their furniture and all of their stuff, but also cleanse the house of all of that stagnant energy that has been sitting there for 3 or 4 months without really being moved around. So that will be very, very important. And if I figure out that there are any spirits around that are more hostile towards us or that are misbehaving, then I will make sure to kick them out while doing that too. In general, my cleansings usually are only for like stagnant energies and energies that feel a little bit yucky. But my cleansings aren't usually for kicking out spirits. Because again, I like spirits. I'm welcoming towards spirits in my house. Only if there are ones that misbehave, then I will make sure to include that in the cleansing process. And maybe even do a banishing if I have to. I hope not. I don't expect it with that house, honestly, but if I have to, I will do that. Afterwards, of course, I will put up protections. Those are kind of the first things, you know, like trying to figure out what kind of spirits are living there, cleansing everything that needs to be cleansed, banishing anything that needs to be banished, and then putting up the protection so that nothing can come in again. So putting up protections for the house, any wards that I want to put up, that would be the next step. I will not go very deeply into that simply because it is my protections and I don't want anyone to come through my protections. But yeah, I will put up wards against evil being sent our way. Doesn't matter if it's the evil eye or curses or hexes or anything like that, and wards against malicious spirits. As I already said, I don't put up wards against any spirits because I like spirits coming through, otherwise it kind of feels spiritually dead to me. And then, of course, because I had previously cleansed so heavily, my goal is not to completely energetically bleach the house and remove everything. I just want to remove the stagnant and more like yucky energies that feel negative to me and my partner. But I still want to kind of perform a little ritual to bring in the energies that I want into the house. And I have not finished planning that yet because that's still like a month or 2 away. But one thing that I will definitely do is include an incense blend into that, simply because I feel like to fill up the space with a specific energy, I think incense is very, very convenient for that. I'm planning on picking some herbs that, of course, have the association with specific energies and specific emotions that I would like to fill my house with. For example, things like chamomile for harmony, or St. John's wort for joy, cinnamon for like warmth, or like dandelion for success. Anything like that. So I will simply think about what kinds of energies I would like to invite into the space, what I would like to kick off the space with and the house with, and then I will create an incense blend from herbs that have associations with those kinds of energies, and then do a little ritual with an incense blend to invite those energies into the house. And then, of course, once we are moved into the house, I will of course put up my altars and move into my own space. So I will have my own work room, and that will be, of course, my witchcraft work room, but also my YouTube and my normal day job work room. So it will be a hybrid room for 3 different purposes, kind of like my living room is right now. So I will make sure to put up that space so that I can spiritually work in the space, even though my goal is to do most of my workings in the future outside in the garden, but I still want to have some spaces inside the house. So for example, just a working area. I don't really call it an altar anymore because it's not an altar. It's just my spiritual workplace, basically. Like the thing that most people would call an altar, where you like perform spells and rituals and stuff. It's just my spiritual workplace. It's not an altar. I also want to put up an ancestor altar, which will maybe be a joint altar with my partner. I asked him already if he wants to maybe put up some photos of maybe his grandparents on the ancestor altar, and he said sure, why not. So maybe it will be a joint ancestor altar, which would be cool, and I would like to put that up in the living room because that will probably be the space where we spend most of our time together, and I really want my ancestor altar to be where we spend the most time. So that will probably be in the living room, and then I want to prepare like a tiny little space for the house spirit near the wood stove. So we don't really have like a hearth or anything like that, or a fireplace, but we have a little wood stove that will be actually in my room. So that will be quite convenient. I can put up a little space for the house spirit somewhere near the wood stove to simply have a space where I can always put their offerings. But one thing I'm actually not planning is having an inside deity altar. I kind of really prefer doing rituals outside, and I will have that capacity. Finally, I will have a big garden with a lot of space to do stuff, and I already saw like the perfect little corner, perfect for an outside altar. And we will have like a big fireplace in the middle of the garden that is surrounded by a lot of like hedges and plants, like it's very overgrown, but in the middle of it, so that nobody can look at it or see into it from the street, there will be a fireplace for me to do rituals, but also just for us to spend time with friends and stuff. So that will be pretty cool. So with that being said, we will move from inside the house onto the property and into the garden. I will definitely put up a deity altar, or in general an altar outside in the garden. I'm very excited for that, to perform bloats outside for the gods, for my ancestors, but also for the land and the local spirits there. That will be very, very nice. I just really prefer doing rituals outside, but in the city, not very possible. But in my own garden, it will be so possible. So that's something I'm extremely excited about. And I just expect myself to not need a deity altar anymore if I have an altar outside. So I will scrap that. I also want to figure out which one of the trees on our property is the one who is basically watching over the property. So in Trolldom, there is this idea that if you have property, then there will be one tree, usually the biggest or the oldest one, that will be kind of like a guardian spirit for your property. And I really want to figure out which one it is, because we have quite a lot of trees on our property, and also a big oak tree that is growing like 1 or 2 meters outside of our property, but it's looking into our property. So I could see that one being the guardian spirit of our property. I don't know yet, but I really want to figure that out, because then of course that tree spirit, that specific tree spirit, will be one of the most important spirits that I will be working with, because that one will be one that I will be working for protection for our property, for our cats, for ourselves, for anything that surrounds our property. Of course, there is not only spirits living in the house, but there might also be other spirits living on our property. So I for sure want to figure that out, just basically getting to know my spiritual neighbors. And well, that also includes the plants that are growing on our property. There is a lot of plants growing on our property, and I kind of want to figure out which ones, this sounds bad, but I kind of want to figure out which ones are allowed to stay and which ones need to go, because we will definitely change things up in the garden. So some of the plants will leave and some will stay. So I want to kind of figure out what the spirit and plant landscape is looking like on our property, getting to know everyone slowly, forming a relationship, of course, with all of the spirits around. That will be probably the main thing that I will be doing the entirety of this year. We will most probably not be starting on the garden properly this year yet, simply because we want to first of all focus on the house itself and then start on the garden once we have the time. But I for sure already want to kind of think about which plants I want to start growing, because we will grow a lot of plants. And of course we will not only have, for example, a vegetable garden, but I also want to plant a lot of native plants that are like good for the bees and for other kinds of insects. I want to figure out which plants I want to grow, like which magical plants I want to grow, because this is the first time that I have ever had a garden. So I will run wild with growing my own plants. That will be amazing. So educating myself on which plants are native in that area and which ones are invasive, so that I know which ones I can grow and which ones I don't want to grow, or which ones I better grow in a pot, for example. That will be a big task for this year, even though we will probably only start growing plants next year. Also very important, I really want to put up protections outside the property, not only wards around the house, but also wards around the entire property. That is something that I've never been able to do, which I am very, very excited about. And part of this will definitely be growing specific plants on the boundaries of the property. But there will also be other things that I will be doing, which again, it's my protection spell, so I will not go deeper into that. But it's something that I'm very, very excited about. There are so many ideas from Trolldom that I will try, and that will be so good. Finally having a property and a garden to work in, that will be so good. And then, as I already said, we are not only buying property, but we're also moving to a different part of the country. It's not too far away. It's like 1.5 hours by car from where I'm living right now. But the thing is, I know northern Germany pretty well, but I know mainly the Baltic Sea area. We are moving to the North Sea area, which is kind of different. Folklore-wise, it is different to the Baltic Sea, which of course makes a lot of sense because there's ebb and flow, which in the Baltic Sea doesn't exist. So the folklore around the North Sea and everything like that, and the dikes and everything, is very, very interesting. So I really want to deep dive into that kind of folklore. Specifically, of course, the folklore from the area that we are moving to. So I'm very excited about that. There will be definitely some spooky stuff to dig up. And with that also comes researching the folklore from exactly the tiny village that we're from, seeing if I can find anything, and in general seeing if I can find any folklore surrounding the specific landscape around where we will be moving to, because there is one specific river that is, well, basically, if this is the village, the river is going around it like this. So we are really surrounded on 3 sides by a river. So of course, I really want to figure out if there's any folklore surrounding that, or specifically if there is folklore about the dikes on that river, because there for sure has to be some kind of folklore on it. So of course, I really want to figure that out. I'm a folklore nerd, so of course I have to read about that. Of course, I will also take like a million walk to get to know the landscape, to figure out if there is any like forests or moors. I know already that there is a river, but I want to get to know the dike on the river. So kind of getting to know the landscape, so that with that I also get to know the spirit landscape around there. I want to figure out where there are land spirits, where there are specific local spirits. Of course, I will want to perform like an initial bloat for them to, again, introduce ourselves, and basically I want to make sure that they know that a witch is moving into the area, that I am a magical practitioner, that I am interested in having a relationship with them, that I care for them, unlike a lot of other people who don't even acknowledge them. So it will be very, very interesting to figure out how active the spirits are there, because I have only ever lived in the city. And city spirits are very different to far off, in the middle of nowhere, village spirits. We will see how the spirits react to a witch moving into the area, but I just hope that if I am performing a bloat pretty early on, that they will be like, oh yeah, it's one of us, cool. I'm also extremely excited not only about figuring out which plants grow on my property, but in general, which plants grow around the area. I would assume that it's pretty similar to the city that I live in right now, because honestly, the plants up here in northern Germany are pretty similar no matter where you are. But I don't know, again, because I haven't been to the North Sea side of northern Germany as many times as I have been on the Baltic side, because I grew up at the Baltic Sea. So we will see if there is any new plants to meet. That would be quite cool. But even if not, I'm excited about exploring all of the little countryside, crossroads plants and everything, because around the tiny little village that we will be living in, there is just a lot of agricultural land. It's not like there's a lot of forests or anything. That's not a thing in northern Germany. So most plants that I will probably be working with will be like hedge plants and like little crossroads plants and plants that grow on the borders of agricultural land. I'm excited to meet them and to figure out which ones they are. I will most probably meet a lot of plants that I already know. I'm expecting most probably a lot of mugwort, a lot of yarrow, a lot of bramble. Maybe a little bit of hops would be cool, but like I'm a big fan of hedge plants. As a current city witch, hedge plants are a big deal for me. So we will see. We will see. I will take you definitely on regular walks around the area and show you around the space and show you which kinds of plants I am meeting. And then lastly, there's another spirit that I really want to meet, that I am very excited about. Something that I really want to explore is the local graveyard. I am used to cemeteries, very big cemeteries. I think the only cemetery that is around where we are moving is a little village graveyard with a little village church in it. I'm so excited about that because those little graveyards with those little churches on it, that's not something I'm used to. Again, I have only ever lived in cities. And when we drove to our house for the first time and we drove past this graveyard, I got so excited because it's literally a little village church with a little village graveyard around it. It's tiny. There is no like big metal fences or anything like that. Like my local cemetery right now is surrounded by big metal fences. So you cannot climb them. You cannot go on there at night. It's closed. And it's a little village graveyard. I can go there at night. I can do my Thursday night graveyard visits and I can jump the northern stone fence and everything like that. I'm very excited about it because that will open up a lot of things for me, a lot of possibilities. But yeah, people will probably be like, who's that weird tattooed person who is constantly hanging out on the graveyard? We will see. People will probably be weirded out by me, but who cares? I'm very excited about that. It's a very cute, tiny little graveyard. And with that being said, those are my house plans, my spiritual plans for my new house and for moving and everything in 2025. Thank you, Ella, for tagging me. I, of course, also have to tag someone. I don't know who already did a 2024 recap and your plans for 2025, but I will just, let me tag Esther Perpetua. I will tag Activist Witch. Let's see, who else am I tagging? I know that Albert wants to do more YouTube in 2025. So Albert, Sussex Peller, consider yourself tagged. Now you have a reason to make more YouTube videos. Ha! Alright, so I'm tagging Esther Perpetua, I'm tagging Activist Witch and Sussex Peller. Have fun with the tag, tell us about your practice in 2024, what you did, how your practice changed, and what your plans are for 2025. With that being said, I hope you liked this video. Make sure to subscribe and give a thumbs up and ring the bell down below so that you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Feel free to check out my other socials, and in case you want to support my channel, which would be well appreciated, then you can check out my Patreon and my YouTube membership. And I will see you in another video. Bye!